And we're live. Greetings, GMOs Revealed community. Terrific to be with you. Really enjoy these monthly connections that we have with our live global webcast. And what we want to do is further the conversations that we've been having. Hold on, I just got to shut off my, there we go. Further the conversations that we've been having from GMOs Revealed. And before we introduce our guest, I just want to mention a couple of things. The GMOs Revealed community is actually growing and expanding day by day. More and more people are finding it. More and more people are commenting on it. More and more people are getting GMOs Revealed and sharing it. And that excites me because it tells me that there's a growing movement here relative to what's going on with GMOs, with glyphosate, et cetera, that more and more people are getting concerned about this issue. And they should be concerned about the issue because of the health catastrophe that GMOs are creating, the environmental catastrophe that GMOs are creating, and we're starting to see that it's becoming much more popularized in the culture in general. And I can tell you, and you can feel proud of this, and we're very happy about this, is that GMOs Revealed as a movement has grown, and I believe that we've instigated a lot of what's going on right now. So stay connected, stay involved. We're going to be continually bringing you new information every single month relative to what's going on in the world of GMOs. And I'm really excited because I have with us as a guest Dr. Gerry Curatola, who came to Park City, Utah, and we had an interview with him in my home. And I have to tell you that he drew connections for me during that interview that were so profound and I thought so exciting that literally I made him my personal dentist. I fly to New York to go to the dentist because he's that good, has that much information and content and context about the connection between the oral cavity and your gut and your body. And I was just so impressed with his knowledge. And more impressed, what an operation. I mean, being somebody who's a practitioner myself and understanding what it means to put on a service and to be able to professionally take care of or treat people. I understand what that means. And I got to tell you, his office and his staff and the training and what goes on there, I don't think I've ever been that impressed. So I want to say, first of all, welcome, Gerry, and thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Well, thanks so much, Patrick. And I really have enjoyed this presentation and this series. Getting a little bit of feedback. I'm going
to lower my speakers a little and let's see if that tries, or I'll mute while you're talking.
Great. Yeah, I kept hearing myself. So first I have to tell you that your program, so many of my patients have participated and even new patients who have come in. So I have to do a shout out because the last patient I saw today was a patient named Nathan. So Nathan, he said he was tuning in tonight. I did a shout out to Nathan. But you know what's really interesting is that the information keeps evolving. We keep learning more and more. And as doctors, we're sort of detectives of the body in different ways. And as we become better detectives, there's new knowledge, new discoveries, and all of this feeds into what you have created in GMOs Revealed.
Well, thanks, and I'm excited to know that you've sent some of your patients to what we're talking about here. So why don't we start with the general overview, which is kind of the unique dimension that you brought to GMOs Revealed, which is talking about the mouth-body connection. Because one of the things that was persistent in GMOs Revealed with Dr. Zach Bush and many others that we interviewed is the critical importance of the microbiome. The gut microbiome and how GMOs adversely affect that, et cetera. But you brought to light a more primary thing in a sense of what is affected first, which is the oral microbiome. So can you just speak to that and how you got interested in that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've been a student of the Human Microbiome Project since 2002. And I saw the oral microbiome as fascinating because it's the front line. So it's the cousin to the gut microbiome. But the oral microbiome, just about everything we know about disease and even how we're made has changed. So I have three basic concepts that are what we call Copernican in their, it's a Copernican revolution. Copernicus in the 1500s discovered that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe. That was really life-changing at that time. Galileo agreed with him. Pope put him in jail for that. We are in a Copernican revolution in science right now. The top three important concepts. One, we're essentially made of bacteria. I say essentially because even when I went back and I actually did this whole biblical scripture exercise, because it says God took from the dust of the earth, breathed his spirit into it, and we became mind, body, and spirit. Well, actually, in the ancient Hebrew text in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, the word is translated to the slime of the earth. The earth was covered with microbial slime. So in creation, or in this story of creation, God takes from the slime of the earth. And if you think about it, our mitochondria and bacteria are similar. So we're made of bacteria. Two, these bacteria run us. We don't run them. Very important concept that we are a superorganism of bacteria, and they do everything from choose the color of our eyes to determine our body type and even who we're attracted to, right? Bacteria create pheromones. The third thing is the best thing we could do to promote health in the mouth and the rest of the body, and this is where GMOs revealed is so, so important, is the best thing we could do to be healthy is to let the bacteria do what their intelligence is and what they're designed to do, right? We're made of them. They run us. We don't run them. The best thing we could do is get out of the way. Now, that sounds easy, but when you talk about GMOs and you talk about fluoride and you talk about the microbiome, we do a lot to screw that up. We do a lot to get in the way and not out of the way.
So when we look at substances, you mentioned fluoride, which the data you had on fluoride I found to be astounding, and how debilitating that is to your bones. So we talk about teeth, but we're talking about this. You're drinking it into your whole body. Exactly. What about glyphosate? Does that also adversely affect the mouth?
Glyphosate is so disturbing. It actually breaks down the ability of our cells to communicate with each other. So, and actually our good friend, Dr. Zach Bush, has done a lot of research and actually some really fascinating stuff with the gut microbiome. And I was just on the phone with him last night. And again, we are like, it's funny, we were both working on different parts, right? I was working on the oral microbiome. He's working on the gut microbiome. And we ended up getting together and lecturing together. And I was fascinated by what he was sharing, and he was fascinated by what I was sharing. And so we're really looking at restoring tight junctions of cells and things like that with some of the things that he's developed. But yes, glyphosate, I think, is probably one of the most abysmal, introductions in food science and in our history. So debilitating on so many different levels, and we have our very own glyphosate type stuff in the mouth as well. So, like for example, triclosan is a terrible endocrine disruptor. It is a terrible carcinogen. It actually affects the ability of muscle cells, motility of muscle cells. It is so prevalent, and it doesn't biodegrade, right? So the leading brand of toothpaste in the United States put this in with the concept that you got to kill bacteria, kill plaque. And many, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, there's so many oral care products that still continue to do that, even though they call themselves natural. So, and there's so many misconceptions in terms of, again, how we create health in the mouth, which, as I said in the beginning, it's all about getting out of the way and kind of nurturing and fostering this complex community of organisms. Really, it is an organ system. to function the way it's designed. And when the oral microbiome functions in a healthy fashion in the mouth, believe it or not, the bacteria take minerals from saliva and it promotes remineralization of teeth. So we'll talk about fluoride and what that does in a minute. But first, it's important to understand the concept that these bacteria in the mouth keep us alive, aid in digestion, produce vitamins, but then they do some really amazing things to maintain healthy teeth and healthy gums and healthy bone. They take ionic minerals. So this film, when it's healthy, the oral microbiome, when it is healthy, is an intelligent semi-permeable membrane that takes minerals from saliva to the surfaces of teeth to promote remineralization. And it actually brings oxygen to the gums and takes free radicals or waste products away from the gums. So you have this very important, and you know I'm using my hands a lot because I'm Italian.
You and I share that.
You share that, right? I go like this. So I always doing this, and I'm looking in the monitor and I'm seeing my hands go. So again, bacteria do really important things to keep us healthy and alive, especially in the mouth. So we were taught when I was in dental school, it was you got to kill the bacteria. You know, we had this concept about sterilizing the mouth. So the approach with oral care companies was all about making products that were antimicrobial, till we found out not only was that ineffectual, but harmful.
So question I have, you talked about, I guess there's a formation of a semi-permeable membrane in the mouth. But most, I guess I'd call it conventional dental practices would destroy that?
Yes. So we were, traditionally, we would look at the oral microbiome, and we called it the biofilm, right? The term microbiome, by the way, for everyone, is a new term. It was invented in 2002 by Josh Lederberg, who's doing a tremendous amount. He coined the term microbiome, but before that, we called it the oral biofilm. So everything was focused on elimination of biofilms, right? They were problems inside oil tankers, and biofilms are in nature. You step on a slippery rock in a stream, that's a biofilm. Now we call things, especially in the body, it's a microbiome, which sounds a lot better. So we were focusing on eliminating or stripping the microbiome. We still are. Products like charcoal, clay. Now, charcoal and clay is a fad right now. They're really good for binding to toxins. The problem is if you use it in a toothpaste, it binds to everything, including stripping the microbiome. So we really want to stop doing that. And there's so many, the problem that we had is there were so many essential oils that do that. Peppermint oil, antimicrobial, spearmint, tulsi, tea tree oil, very, very volatile, what we call a terpene oil, and that kills everything. So using them in toothpaste instead of triclosan and chlorhexidine and these chemicals sounded like a good idea because those chemicals are really bad. The problem is that whether we're using a synthetic or an herbal, they still can have disturbing, disruptive action. So everyone should understand, because it's natural, like coconut oil pulling. Coconut oil pulling was something that, a lot of people say, it's great, it's great, it's great. It's a detergent action. There's no miracle. I mean, I love coconut oil. I put it in everything. And I use it all the time. So don't get me wrong. Coconut oil as a food is in my book. It's a superfood. But the oil pulling thing that Ancient Ayurveda talked about was to remove, and it's a detergent action. To do it on a regular basis really strips the microbiome. So like in my book, I talk about, let's see if I can find it on page 59. So in my book, I talk about this chart, and there's a horizontal axis and a vertical axis. Where you want to be is in the center. If you go too far to the left, you have an atrophic biofilm in the mouth, an atrophic microbiome. That's like a desert. And if you go too far to the right, you have a hypertrophic microbiome, which is traditionally what we used to see. It's that thick, sticky, smelly film you wake up with the morning. Your spouse doesn't want to kiss you good morning until you brush and all this stuff. Well, what's interesting is that when we start to promote balance, or what we call microbial homeostasis, you wake up in the morning and your mouth still feels fresh. You still feel clean. You don't have this thick, sticky film, which is the sign of microbiome imbalance. So a biofilm imbalance is you get thick, sticky stuff, or you can go the opposite end of the spectrum, which is thin. And those are the people that get sores, and their teeth are really sensitive, their mouth burns. That's an atrophic biofilm. Cancer patients get that. Smokers get that strip the microbiome. So that's the important thing to understand. It's all about balance.
So if with that, and it was abstract to me when we first talked about some of this stuff when we were recording for GMOs Revealed. It's now directly experiential. So if I can give you an unsolicited testimonial, I had, once you had, we had this conversation, I learned what you're speaking about. I had purchased Revitin toothpaste, the toothpaste that you developed, because you started to explain, and I want to just reiterate to make sure this didn't go by people. And I want to connect the dots too. Again, this isn't just about oral health. This is about health to your entire body. And that connection is important. And looking at the devastation that glyphosate and the whole GMO initiative creates, it doesn't start in your gut, it starts in your mouth. It affects your gut too. So I just want to make sure that you understand how we're taking a one facet of the big picture here that is a unique facet in my mind. But you talked about, you said, yeah, you don't want to be in a jungle. You don't want to be in a desert. You want to have a nice forest, I guess, as far as explaining this film in the mouth. And I used a natural toothpaste, but they had the oils in them that you spoke about that basically were maybe less toxic to the body, but still wiped out the bacteria, the good bacteria.
Disturbing the oral microbiome. And that's a very, very important concept, because there's a lot of very well-intentioned people out there that try to develop oral care products that are healthy. But without understanding the science of the microbiome, and the third thing I said, because my mentor in the microbiome, when I was developing this, and first thing is that, you could basically, if you took this much toothpaste and you ate it, commercial toothpaste, you'd have to call poison control right now. So this could be as much of a dietary supplement as a toothpaste. But when I was doing this, my mentor, who is one of the smartest people I've ever known in my life, he's an MD, DDS, PhD, and he's really remarkable. His name is Dr. Stephen Moss. He said to me, Gerry, the best thing we could do is, and the reason why your toothpaste works is because you follow that principle of just getting the hell out of the way, of letting bacteria do what they're supposed to do in and on our bodies. So whether it's skincare products, whether it's digestive products like Restore by Zach Bush, wonderful product, fascinating how he neutralizes glyphosate. And by the way, we're using it in the mouth. So we're using it in the mouth and the gut, and I believe the skin, your pets. It's all about eliminating the toxicity caused by, what is, I think, a really horrific synthetic product that was well-intentioned when it was developed. But it is, the interesting thing, the human toxicity studies were always sort of lacking, in these things. Like fluoride, which we talked about. Fluoride started as a really good idea. We were looking at a chemical that had the ability to promote remineralization of teeth. right? Why does that happen? Because it's such a highly reactive element. It's one of the most highly reactive, non-radioactive elements on the periodic table. Fluorine, F minus, fluorine. So when you put it with teeth and bones, it knocks out the OH minus. So our teeth and bones, not to give everybody a science lesson, but our teeth and bones are made of something called hydroxyapatite. And it's the apatite is AP+, the hydroxy is negatively charged. But fluoride, which is the made-up term of fluorine, is so highly charged that it blows out the hydroxy and it binds to the apatite. And you end up with a mineral, a new mineral in the human body called fluorapatite, which is very, very hard, like this glass, very hard. But if I drop this glass on the table, it will break in a million pieces. So high hardness, low tensile. As a matter of fact, it's got about 30% of the strength. Fluorapatite has 30% of the strength of teeth and bones. So natural teeth and bones, hydroxyapatite. When they did hip fracture studies in the 1980s, expecting to find the opposite, that teeth and bones were stronger, they found the inverse. And that is teeth and bones were, hip fracture rates were going up exponentially. So, you know, how many people do you know that have, whether it's osteoporosis, osteopenia, hip replacements, knee replacements, this is all a sign of skeletal fluorosis, in my opinion. There's an epidemic of skeletal fluorosis, an epidemic of dental fluorosis, which dental fluorosis, they say, oh, it's a cosmetic defect. No, it's not. It's a hypocalcification of teeth that makes teeth more prone to decay, the very thing they were given a toxic chemical to protect them from. So now we have upwards of 50% of America's adolescent children have fluorosis, which is damaging. And that's just what you see. What you can't see is the fluorosis on bones. And I actually found some pictures of skeletal fluorosis, and it is horrific looking on bone. The bone is all spotty and mottled with brown patches, and it's much more brittle.
Well, this is, you know, and this is something that when I look at it, you know, we look at one of the things that's very disconcerting, one of the many things that's very disconcerting about the whole GMO phenomenon is how ubiquitous glyphosate is, you know, billions of pounds going into the environment every year, et cetera. Hard, even when you're trying to live in a toxic, eliminated life. In other words, you're trying to reduce the amount of toxins environmentally that you're getting. It's still hard to avoid glyphosate because of how much of it's in the environment. And when you were talking about fluoride, I realized it's a very similar thing. I mean, they literally put it in the water supply, in public water supplies. They literally,
New York City, we pay to buy a toxic waste, which is so toxic that they have to wear hazmat suits to put it in the water, because it isn't even fluoride. It's most of it is hydrofluorosilicic acid, which is a toxic waste of a number of major, serious, large corporate interest groups. It's a byproduct of aluminum manufacturing. It's a byproduct of phosphate fertilizer. So it's a
and they're putting this stuff into the water. Yeah. So now now we have this another toxin, and not only is it in the water, you know, you drink filtered water, you know, and you basically try to circumvent that, but you're still taking showers. Now you need to, you know, filter your shower. I mean, it goes on and on. But then, what happens is that they're putting it into toothpaste. Yeah. And people say, well, on a local basis, it's not something you have to worry about. But you said something to me that literally, I think there's enough fluoride in a tube of toothpaste to kill 2 kids.
Under 5, yeah. Under 5. On their weight. It's not, I mean, I'm laughing because it's so ludicrous. But the serious thing is, in the late 80s, there was a major toothpaste manufacturer who introduced a kid's toothpaste that was bubblegum flavored, and it was fluorescent blue, and it had sparkles. So parents let their kids brush their teeth by themselves, which is, not unusual. You think toothpaste, right? You're sticking it in the mouth, has to be safe. fluoride fatalities in children went up 180% or 280%. Enough. I just lost that. I think it's 280%. Fluoride fatalities in children. So poison control parents started finding their children under 5, horrifically dead from ingesting too much fluoride. They put an emetic in toothpaste. You do vomit, but if the child is young, it's enough to be fatal. So they can Google this online. It took 10 years, but in 1998, the FDA mandated a poison warning on toothpaste for toothpaste with sodium fluoride that says you use a pea-sized. Children must be supervised. Use a pea-sized amount. If more than a pea-sized amount is swallowed by anybody, call poison control immediately.
So I started toothpaste. This is toothpaste, and we have to have a poison warning on it. It starts to boggle the mind. And listen, I'm guilty as charged because I thought, that, okay, I went from that to the more natural stuff, which I think doesn't have fluoride at least, but there's still other things in it. Ultimately,
actually, Tom's of Maine was the first natural toothpaste that built a brand, and they were true. They took chemicals out and they took artificial color, artificial flavor, and then they wanted to get the ADA seal of acceptance because they wanted to go mass market. So they put fluoride back in, and now I think they have both fluoride and non-fluoride. But the problem with fluoride is not only, I was talking about teeth and bones. I mean, there's been dissection showing it calcifies the pineal gland, causes a major disruption to your thyroid. And it is a carcinogen. So it is a halide, very, very potent chemical that doesn't belong in toothpaste, your water, or anything else. We do get some fluoride naturally, but the amount of fluoride that people are exposed to right now from fluoridated products, what if you go to a restaurant? So people are drinking bottled water, but they go to a restaurant with food prepared with fluoridated water. So they're ingesting that. There's fluoride.
It's everywhere, and it's hard to avoid. And if I can give you a testimonial here. So I went and bought Revitin because you're very colorful in the way that you present things, and you're in my kitchen. You're saying this toothpaste you can put on a cracker and eat it. It's a food, and so you gave a great visual, and I ordered it. And incidentally, it is so good. It's somewhat addictive. Like I'm brushing my teeth many more times during the day after because I really enjoy the feeling and the taste. You use essential oil, I think you said, for and it's kind of the citrus flavor, which is really nice. Yeah, but here's the big testimonial. My 13-year-old, who I have to constantly ride him to brush his teeth. Once I got on the Revitin, he's brushing his teeth all the time. He loves it, and I don't have to worry about toxicity, because they're using toothpaste too much. So and it is a different feel. What you're describing, because again, abstractly, I heard it, but the feeling in the mouth is different. And it used to be almost like extremes where you say after you brush before you go to bed, it's like your mouth is so it's a desert. You can just tell everything in your mouth. That's a good thing. Then you wake up and it kind of swings the other way, and it's kind of this back and forth. Whereas now it's a very different experience using Revitin. So anyway, I think you nailed it as far as the product, and now I've gotten deeper into reading the composition of what's in there and the varying substances, all of which are supportive to the oral microbiome. But I also wonder about this, Gerry, is that when you get your mouth right, and obviously it's going to have an impact on the gut microbiome. But what's a big issue for a lot of people from a health perspective right now is GERD, right? You're having reflux, getting heartburn, that burning down at the where the esophagus connects to the stomach. When you get your mouth microbiome right and you eliminate things like glyphosate, eliminate fluoride, have the right toothpaste, which Revitin is what I use now. I don't know anything else that's like it. Could that also have a healing effect on the the esophageal junction by the stomach? Absolutely. So a lot of gastroesophageal reflux is
GERD is really a microbiome imbalance. And as a matter of fact, I want to tell you honestly that anytime I feel like I have a little bit of an acidic stomach, I actually eat this. And this was tested on a vegan machine I was at a bioregulatory medical conference lecturing, and actually became dear friends with Kimchi Moyer, who is an amazing, she does something called resopathy, which measures the resonance of things and resonance in the body. So you're at this, she said, I want to try this. And she put 5 different toothpastes that were there. There were like a couple of different, there was a rinse, and xylitol. I want to talk about xylitol because you have glyphosate, you got fluoride, and you got xylitol. And I would love to do a xylitol revealed series, because xylitol, which 80% of it is owned by Danica, which is a subsidiary of DuPont. Xylitol is a chemical, and it is a chemical it's a white chemical that's made by a process of hydrogenation using xylan as an organic material that it starts with. So it starts with pretty little birch bark, and it starts with but 80, it was something like 80% comes from GMO corn cobs, by the way. So a lot of xylitol probably got glyphosate, in the mix. But it goes through a process of industrial hydrogenation using rainy nickel, a heavy metal, as the catalyst. And then this white powder comes out. Xylitol is so disturbing to the mouth and gut microbiome. And I've actually been on programs with dentists who love it and built whole dental products companies around xylitol, because there were studies done in Scandinavia showing that it keeps plaque from sticking to teeth. Like that's a good thing. Again, it's in this, get rid of the plaque, get rid of the plaque. Plaque is an unhealthy expression of a normal, of an essential, beneficial microbiome. The oral microbiome is an essential, beneficial organ system. And so xylitol is so disturbing. And that's why, when you ingest it in the gut, it causes diarrhea and gas and all this stuff. But in the mouth, it just disturbs the oral microbiome. So it actually was found to inhibit strep mutans bacteria, for example, which were linked to tooth decay. Strep mutans live in the mouth. And this is the important thing to understand. Pathogens in the mouth are resident bacteria that are out of balance. So this concept that bacteria are, at first we thought all bacteria are bad, the germ theory, kill everything. Then we had the good guy, bad guy, probiotic theory, right? So let's throw more good guys in. The probiotics don't work in the mouth. They were tried as far back as the 70s because, again, that sounded like a good idea. And so now we understand that bacteria like Fusobacterium nucleatum are they go all over the body in its pathogenic state. They were the number one bacteria found in colon cancer, colorectal cancer. That was a study that came out last month. And it's an oral bacterium. Fusobacterium nucleatum is an oral bacterium. It's also the number one commensal community bacteria, the most predominant community bacteria in the mouth. So do we kill all the Fusobacterium nucleatum? No. We just don't piss them off. We have to not piss them off. We have to allow them to live in a balanced state, okay? Because there are transient things that occur, transient shifts in the mouth. And so some of these transient planktonic bacteria appear to be pathogens. So you have these people doing this biome testing in the mouth, spitting into a vial, and they see all these bed bugs. I mean, I believe in that for just the sake of seeing whether or not there are too many and there's an overabundance. Because then you need to use something like this to restore the balance, not nuke everything. Don't keep ozoning the mouth. Like, I love ozone. Ozone has wonderful properties for healing in a state of overwhelming infection, right? In a root canal, in a gum infection or something like that, but not as a general tonic that you go to the dentist every time. They just ozone your mouth every time because we just got to kill everything. This scorched earth policy, it doesn't work.
Yeah, you mentioned, can you make the distinction? Because you said, I think in Revitin, you said there's prebiotics.
Yes. So, and by the way, we just put in vitamin K2, MQ7, and vitamin D3. So we filed a provisional patent on that because vitamin K2, I'm in love with K2 because, I mean, it's for the past 5 years I've been in love with K2. When I first started this, I did the research on this 20 years ago. I started this. So this is a life passion to really shift what people are sticking in their mouth. And I do hope that, everything that, I gain from here, I can channel back into hopefully, helping the next generation and like you were doing with GMOs revealed. Prebiotics are ingredients that nourish and support a healthy microbiome. That's the simple definition. We could get into what are prebiotic fibers in the gut, and the fact is, in the mouth, everything, just about everything in here has a prebiotic action. So you have, even cranberry seed oil that we use, and vitamin C and CoQ10. I was very big. I got 3 patents on vitamin C and CoQ10 and oral care formulas back in the early, 2001, 2003, around that time. But some K2 does some really wonderful things. It's really K2 and D3, gatekeepers for calcium absorption, reduction of inflammation, proper cell function, improving mineralization of teeth and bone. So we use K2 Miniqualone 7, which is really natto. It's a great bacterial in origin. It's interesting, prebiotic, and it's bacterial in origin, like xanthan gum is made from bacteria. So yeah, prebiotics work. Probiotics don't, and neither do antimicrobials. So
let's maybe summarize here for a moment. I think almost everybody that's interested in GMOs and glyphosate and the adverse impact, a lot of our attention has been steered to the gut microbiome, and certainly in GMOs Revealed, we had many conversations around that, and there's a serious concern there for good reason.
Absolutely.
What you brought to light and what you did this evening, what you did in the program and in the actual docu-series, is talk about also this thing that is actually above or more primary to the gut microbiome, which is the oral microbiome. And if you will, I'm sorry, I got just my camera gets out of focus sometimes when I move. I start talking with my hands and it focuses on my hands, so I got to put my hands down.
It gives a very surreal effect, though.
Yeah,
kind of like the spirit realm, and then you come into the physical realm.
Maybe I'll do it on purpose now. So what happens is that the oral microbiome, if that gets disturbed or destroyed or imbalanced, it's going to adversely affect the gut microbiome in the whole body, and I think that
exactly.
That's a really.
So, and you're bringing up probably one of the most important points, which is why I wrote this book. I wrote this book because there are people out there, and even doctors. There are doctors treating patients and doing, toxicity work. They're doing, elimination of heavy metals. They're doing treating inflammation from they're treating inflammation from here down. And the reality is that you cannot detox. And as a matter of fact, one of the largest sources of inflammation is in the mouth. I mentioned Kimchi Moyer, who's actually partnering with me on a bunch of things. We're working on a project called Live 120. That 120 is the new 60, because we do have the knowledge and the information right now to live to 120. So the reality is you cannot detox or eliminate inflammation without dealing with the mouth. So my thing is, if you do some very simple things. You know, I have 4 cornerstones of oral health that I talk about in the book. And the 4 cornerstones are, the first is get the junk, you know, out of the trunk, which is, you know, toxicities come in many shapes and forms. So we know foods with glyphosate, number 1. We know fluoride, number 2. Heavy metals, number 3. Just in the top, those are among the top 3. So starting to eliminate that. And then the second one is nutrition. And nutrition is, that's why this is basically a nutritional product. So, you know, I did this because even if you just change what you're brushing your teeth with, you could start to eliminate toxicity. And that's why I think it's critically important. And there's so much misinformation in oral care. Consumers are very confused walking down the aisle in the oral care aisle and everything screaming out. And then they're online and they're hearing about, you know, this coconut oil, this, and charcoal and clay, that, and xylitol, this, and all this stuff. All of that is not based on sound science. And I'm hoping that all of those people wake up and start to follow the lead of the 20 years of research that I did on Revitin. The third thing is really, you know, alkalizing, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant-rich diet, I think is very important. And then I talk about stress reduction and rest. And actually sleep dentistry becomes really important. And sleep dentistry has to do with the fact that a lot of people have airway problems. And repositioning the jaw, bringing the lower jaw forward and having proper occlusion and bite is important for a patent airway and the reduction or elimination of sleep apnea. You know, physicians have been using CPAP devices, which is positive pressure. And yes, it's keeping the patient alive, but I think we need to do that a little more organically than putting on, you know, the mask from Batman Returns. You know, so those are just some of the basic things. And even in the book, I worked with a great writer who's worked with a lot of very big doctors, Dr. Perricone, Dr. Oz, and everyone. And we came up with 7 anti-inflammatory yoga poses, actually for breathing, for stress reduction, and how that has an impact on the health of your mouth.
So, incidentally, highly recommend the book. I have my own personal autographed copy. Thank you. You brought me one. So great stuff. And what I love about it, it's not a tree killer. You know, it's a pretty simple read. Oh, yeah, it's got really good content in it. So it's a great book. Highly recommended. So just going down here too, and just solutions are like offer. I believe you're in a very unique place as far as talking about the matters that you're talking about. And understand the devastation of glyphosate in the environment. And of course, a lot of this is attached to, you know, a lot of corporate greed and malfeasance and government and bureaucratic, well, I guess I don't have a better word, fraud. I mean, these people lying to us. But now you come along with solutions, but your solutions are in a place that other people aren't talking. And I know a lot of dentists, but I've never heard dentists talk about the things you talk about. So which is why I fly from Utah to New Jersey, to New York rather, to see you in New York City as my dentist. So
New Jersey.
I sometimes fly to New York. I go to that. So if somebody, first of all, to get the toothpaste, which my whole family uses now and really, really love. So it's, a lot of times you have to go through some discomfort or pain to do something better for yourself. This is actually an upgrade in the experience of brushing your teeth and what it feels like. So you can go to revitin.com, which REVITIN.com, and that's where they can get information and order, the toothpaste, correct? And I'm signed up. I've got, they have family packs. I usually get the family pack for me. That's what I recommend for people. Once you log in, and you have a really good store. It makes it easy, and I like that. So that's where you get Revitin. If somebody were interested in seeing you as a dentist, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can go to rejuvdentist.com, REJUVDENTIST. We have a wonderful team in New York. They're a great crew. And they could, that's actually the easiest. There's a number there you could click on, or you could just go right through the website and get there. I am still a wet-fingered dentist. So I do mercury removal. I love dentistry. You know, I wanted to be a dentist from 6 years old. And to prove it, in the inside page here is the business card I made to be a dentist at 6 years old. I took my father's card. I cut up the letters. So it was definitely a calling, like you.
I love it. And people can find out more about you. Just Google, you know, if they Google you, they'll find your website, they'll find the toothpaste. But like I said, I personally, use with my whole family Revitin. I love the product, and I especially love knowing how it is absolutely something that's an upgrade to my healthy lifestyle, and for my family especially, it's an upgrade to their healthy lifestyle. And I'm looking to come see you again. I think in May, next month. So I should be there next month to come in for my next visit. And let me tell you, there's a lot of work that I need to get done too. I mean, as you go in there, you can pick things out and understand what can get done. But amalgam removal, which I think is a very, very big deal, has to be done right. I got multiple friends who have mercury toxicity because it wasn't done right. And then, of course, you do it all, because you do the amalgam removal, all the biologics.
Cavitational surgery is a big area. I just want to say one thing about that. We never really focused on cavitations in jaws because they were sort of diagnosed very esoterically in the past with different meters, and people were coming up with devices. But with the advance of technology and cone beam, this low exposure radiograph that is 3D, we're actually able to see these voids, these actual caves in the jaw that are known to harbor a lot of toxicity and be a source of stealth infections throughout the body. Yeah. And we're able to see these lesions around root canal teeth and all this other stuff that are, we've seen so many patients who were suffering with all kinds of gut issues. 86% of wisdom teeth are found to have some sort of cavitation present. So it's becoming sort of like, well, I had my wisdom teeth out in my 20s, and in my 50s, I'm having cavitation surgery now, and I've had gut issues for so many years. Well, the third molars are known on a meridian chart to be connected to the small intestine.
Oh, wow.
Really wild stuff. There's a tooth-organ relationship in Chinese medicine and in acupuncture that goes back thousands of years. And here we are, I'm amazed that we're seeing this connection that we never could explain before. So we do comprehensive biologic dentistry.
So we'll have to, there's, I'm sure, many more subjects for us to explore. We'll have to have you come back another month and dive deeper into some other areas that people might be interested in. But in the end, folks, let me just say thank you for being a part of this GMOs Revealed community. I believe that this movement has been making a difference in the world. We're going to continue to promulgate, promote, expand the movement, and your participation, your voices matter. And thank you all for sharing. I'm looking right now, we've had 90,000 shares on Facebook alone. So that means you people are engaged, which is wonderful. If you want to get the GMOs Revealed series, if you haven't already, and you want to support what we're doing, on the page where you're viewing right below me, there's the different packages we have there. There's a few different packages to choose from. Pick the one that's right for you. And invest in GMOs Revealed. I think the information, it will be very, very valuable to you, and it certainly supports us in our mission. And Gerry, as always, again, thank you for being such a phenomenal and unique expert in this GMOs Revealed project, and I look forward to future conversations.
Love you, brother.
Love you too. Keep on keeping on. And for everybody that's out there, thank you for watching. Great to be with you. And we'll have another great webcast set up for you next month, and looking forward to connecting again. Take care, everybody.